So I know we've talked about getting clients and getting leads and all that quite a lot, but so just kind of a little snapshot of where I'm at. I've been a freelancer, kind of lower income, like maybe 2 to 5K per month, usually with clients, trying to really get to like 10K per month and beyond in the next, few months, let's say. So I started doing like everyday LinkedIn posts to my ideal client profile I've done that maybe a month now. And I'm trying to figure out what other activities I should be doing really like on a daily, weekly basis to kind of layer on top of that. So I'm sort of weighing a few different things. I'm just trying to figure out what's going to make the biggest impact. Like, what do I need to prioritize? So there's like outbound, there's, like all the strategies of commenting on other people's posts and things like that to like get more reach.
Well, first of all, who's your ideal client?
So my kind of umbrella ideal client is B2B impact brands. So these are like B2B, B Corps, or other like purpose-driven businesses. That's still pretty broad in terms of industry. So right now I'm going after more like software companies or businesses in tech. I've come across some like e-com businesses that have like a B2B wing, where they're like, I feel like I haven't quite dialed in exactly who I'm going for, but I've worked with B Corp client that was like a marketing agency and they were putting out content, but they didn't really know much about like SEO or conversion optimization or things like that. So they're sort of like the blueprint I have, and I'm trying to get more clients like that. But marketing agencies is what I want, but they were sort of in the right direction, I think.
So I think a couple things, right? Also talk to me about resourcing. Like it feels like, with where you're at in terms of like revenue and stuff, I would assume like right now you probably have more time than money. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes. But
at some point that switches. So it's an important thing to understand like which side of that like seesaw we're on. If you have more money than time, like my answer becomes like ads and hiring and things like that. At the point where you have more time than money, I think it's like a couple things. So you already understand like a lot of the tactical stuff, right? Like let's use LinkedIn, for example, right? Like it's posting every day. It's making sure that we're posting things that resonate with our ideal client, not with other marketers that do what we do, if that makes sense. Like I see a lot, it's like a huge mistake I see people make. They're sharing all these SEO tips and it's like the only people that are engaging with is other SEO people. And it's like, that's not your audience. That's a piece of it. I would also have a list of like 100 companies that you really want to work with and be relentlessly like connecting and DMing and like just like trying to like build a relationship and get on the radar of those people. I can't tell you. So a good example would be Dom, who's a member of Blueprint. He works only with like healthcare software companies, and all he does is connect with them and they're like, oh, you're the exact person for us. Cool. When we need that thing, you're the only person we're going to talk to. And I think that's because your positioning is so focused, you become like very obviously the person for them. Because if they're not in market right now, you're not going to like, I just have never found that you're able to like pressure somebody that like doesn't want to buy our type of services into like all of a sudden feeling like, yeah, you can do stuff like that, but I feel like that's more marketing than sales. So I would just be connecting with them constantly. Once you connect with them, you'll probably follow them, they'll follow you, and just be building that relationship. But have that like it's called like a Dream 100 list. That's where I start. It comes from a book. It's called like Automatic Something Machine. It's a book by Chet Holmes. Other people have ripped off Dream 100, like Russell Brunson talks about it a lot, and then like all of the ClickFunnels community acted like they invented it. But read the Chet Holmes book and it'll give you a good idea. I mean, I'm summarizing it right now. It's basically all you need to know of like just keep building relationships with the people at those companies. Everybody who has like go on LinkedIn, everybody who has marketing in their job title, be connecting with all of them. And you start to have this like really cool audience of like essentially B Corp marketers and whoever else would hire you inside of that. Because like we all know that nonprofit does not mean non-revenue, right? Those are huge companies. And a B Corp, by its nature, is still capable of making a lot of money and still needs marketing, right? So I think that would be a piece of it. What else have you been doing and how's that been working?
So I would say the outbound has worked for me in the past when I was like pretty focused on it and doing a lot of it, and I sort of combined it with like attending a virtual event, and then it was like easier to have, there was like obvious conversation starter where it wasn't like, I'm trying to sell you something, but like, I mean, I am, but like, we also both attended this event. So there's something to talk about. I've gotten a few clients that way. I would say I've also done, like I put out a lead magnet just the other day, and, it's still kind of too early to say what the results from that are, but I'm wanting to do some kind of regular like meatier content, both to reach my audience, but also just to kind of keep practicing, keep refining the messaging. And, I'm just finding the more I'm posting on LinkedIn, the more clear I'm getting on like how to talk about it all. So I see a benefit in doing it, even if I don't see like all the results yet.
What is the lead magnet that you have out right now?
So I put out a guide, which is basically helping brands know whether they're in a place to invest in SEO or not. Like, does it make sense for you to do it? And I'm not sure if that's the right kind of message, or if it should just be like, here's how to, get leads from SEO. I think that might have been more effective, but I could kind of try.
No,
again.
You get into like practitioner territory with that. I think I like the like when to know. It's not going to get you as many like leads. It's not going to seem as popular. You're not going to get like a bunch of like SEO people opting in for it. But the only person that opts in for that is like somebody who's trying to decide whether they want to, hire somebody for this. So they are in market by nature, or they're out of market, but they're like, you'll be the person they trust when they are in market, like I said previously. So I think that's a big piece of it. Outside of that, it becomes really just a game of like getting in your reps, sharing as much as you can, seeing what lands, like trying to get really good at. I found that a lot of times the conventional advice is like have a podcast and then like do podcast distribution, right? Where you're like sharing the videos everywhere and the clips and yada, yada, yada. I found the same, like that's where a lot of people go with it. I found the same to be true for LinkedIn. So I write on LinkedIn every single day. I take my best stuff. I repurpose that into my newsletter in a bit, more context than you can offer in LinkedIn. And then like, that's going to become the source of the video stuff that I do. That's going to become like, it kind of works the other way. So I like using LinkedIn as almost like a, if we go like really old school, like a daily blog of like, I'm just writing stuff every single day. And all of a sudden you start refining your idea. You also get a lot better at copywriting because those hooks on LinkedIn are so important. You get maybe 1 to 3 lines depending on how the algorithm is like shrinking stuff, and you have to get people's attention in those 1 to 3 lines. And I think that's a really, really big piece of it.
But it sounds like you're saying the next piece to really focus on is that like 100 companies.
Yeah,
and
I would start like really like be like, these are the dream 100 that are like tech B Corps that are really interesting. And I would start building relationships with them and just start asking them like I would treat it, if you aren't super familiar with like jobs to be done interviews, just like asking them like, what are you doing right now? Like, how's that going? Or, just ask, just be like, I work with a lot of B Corps. Like, what are you finding is most effective for you right now? And all of a sudden you'll start to see this weird through line of like, I've talked to, and it might not just be one-off DMs, but a lot of times you can still get them on a call or something, like not sales, just like, again, to connect. And you're just kind of interviewing them of like, what's working for them, what's not working for them, what's top of mind. All of a sudden you'll have these like really interesting through lines of like, oh, okay, interesting. Like that's a thing that I should like be talking more about, even if it's not necessarily what you do, right? Like Ryan has had Chris Walker from Refine Labs on the show before and stuff, and has put out some videos with him on YouTube. And I almost said the YouTube. And Chris, most of his marketing is about 2 things that he doesn't even do. Like he ran a Facebook ads agency. Like that's what Refine Labs was, but nobody knew because he talked about the 2 biggest pain points of his ideal client, which was attribution sucks. We can't track these things. And like, what does word of mouth even look like now? How do we get more of it? And his marketing didn't really do any of those things. And that might feel like, well, I'm kind of like it's bait and switchy, or it's just like, whatever else, but it carved out a unique space for him where he was the only one talking about these things and naming them and like not shutting up about it. Like everything was just about these 2 topics. And I think it was great. Like it fueled huge growth for his agency. But a lot of that came out of him keeping his ear to the ground on like what people actually were struggling with and cared about. Cool. So yes, that was a long way of saying yes. Dream 100, talk to as many of them as you can. If you can get them on calls because you have the time, absolutely do that, even if it's just 15 minutes.
All right, thanks.
I hope that's helpful. Yeah. Let me know how it goes. Yeah.